Welcome back to another episode of Magical Experiments Podcast. And today I got a question that a person asked in regards to spirit work, and I'm going to take it in a little bit of a different direction. But here's what the person asked. My first question is, why would spirits bother themselves helping me? I keep hearing it in my head. And what if the spirits refuse to help or support me with my issue? What should I do in such a case? Thanks in advance. This really boils down to a question of why do spirits want to connect with us? What is it that they're getting out of connecting with us? And so I thought today that I would unpack that a bit and share some of my own ideas and thoughts, and at the same time try and answer these questions for this person. So why do spirits want to connect with us? Well, I think it's really one of the most important things that we can do is unpack a reality about spirits that isn't often acknowledged but needs to be. And I talk about this in my class, Advanced Spirit Communication, which I'll be offering sometime this next year. And basically what's happening with spirits is that they connect with us because we have something to offer to them, even as they have something to offer to us. And what I see that is problematic in a lot of occult literature and books on magic is a tendency to do one of two things with spirits. One is to either put them on a pedestal and be like, oh, hey, the spirits, or, we have to worship them, or we have to worship them. We have to acknowledge that they are quote-unquote superior to us. Or the other stance that I see is, oh, well, the spirits are here to serve us, and we're going to command them to do stuff for us. I find both positions problematical because of how much hierarchy is built into them. I prefer to take a relational approach to spirit work, where I am connecting with the spirit collaboratively. And so one of the questions that I ended up asking early on in my work with spirits is, what is it that the spirits are actually getting out of this? Because if they're choosing to have a relationship with me or with someone else, there's got to be something they're getting out of it. Now, in the case of worshiping, we see what they're getting out of it. They're getting worship, they're getting devotion, they're getting attention, they're getting all of these things that are benefiting them in a very obvious way. But in the case of the spirits that are being commanded as if they're servants, this kind of begs the question, well, what are these spirits getting out of this? They're presumably being forced to come and do something for you. At least that's how the Grimoire tradition set it up. In order to accomplish specific results, what are they getting out of it? Now, what I think is evident is that the spirits are always getting something out of the equation. And it might be that what they're getting in that particular case is they're getting a chance to experience the material world. In fact, I would argue that in general, the reason that spirits want to connect with us is because they want to connect with us from a place of communion and collaboration, where they're getting something from the connection, and that is a connection to the material world, because we are essentially spirits made flesh. We are manifested. And so what we have is we have an ability to touch the material world around us in a very direct manner that is not available to the spirits. And because I'm able to touch the spirits because I'm able to touch the material world, I'm able to share that with the spirits. And that sharing can come in many different forms. I mean, one of the reasons why I think that spirits opt for partial or full possession is because they get an opportunity to experience the material world through our bodies without having to take on flesh themselves. They get to borrow the meat suit, as it were, for a little while. And that can be a really powerful reason for spirits to connect with human beings. And so I think it's important to understand this, because there is a benefit that the spirits are getting, and we're getting a benefit as well. The benefit is, the spirits have greater insights and knowledge in the immaterial world, in the spirit world, or they have a way of looking at the world differently, or the universe differently than we do, and they may have some insights and information that we don't have. That's one of the benefits. One of the other benefits is that the spirits are able to essentially empower us with, access to a level of probability that we might not fully apprehend, but they can do it for us and help us connect. And I mean, there's other reasons too. I mean, one of the reasons that I work with spirits is sometimes the spirits can do something for me that I can't do for myself, and or they can influence or affect events in a way that I might not be able to. And so it's really important to connect with and understand that because of the role and the power that spirits have. So when I look at doing spirit work in general, I look at it from that perspective. Here's what the spirits are getting. Here's why they are connecting with me. Here's the benefit, for the spirits. So now let's look at what this person asked. He said, is why would spirits bother themselves helping me? Well, I think I've answered that question, so I think we're good on that one. Although I would rephrase that question from bother to like, why do the spirits want to help me instead of bother themselves? That's really kind of a thing for you, for if you're having to be watching this. Don't, maybe look at your own attitude or perspective. And then what if the spirit refused to help me or support me with my issue? Well, I mean, here's the thing. You can't. I mean, I don't buy into the model where you compel spirits to do stuff for you. I think that it becomes really problematic. Sometimes what ends up happening is that spirits will rebel against us or rebel against the way that we interact with the world. And, that's something to like really keep in mind in terms of what we're trying to do. Like if I'm trying to force a spirit to do something, that doesn't, maybe I get the spirit does that in the short run, but then in the long run or in the mid run, things end up turning against me in some form or manner. So I think it's really important to recognize that. The other aspect I might put to that is that maybe the spirit knows something that you don't, or maybe it's just not the right spirit. I have some spirits that I don't work with. They're not like horrible or mean or bad or anything like that. It's just like we don't sync that way. So I recommend that you really consider carefully the spirits that you want to work with, and ask yourself, who do I want to work with? How do I want to work with them? And if they don't want to work with me, can I pivot and find a spirit that does want to work with me? I don't recommend forcing them to work with you or for you, because again, I think ultimately that's going to blow up against you. The other aspect that I think is important to consider with spirit work is that spirits provide us, a different awareness of the world, and they want to connect with the world around us. They want to connect with us. So why don't we do that with respect and collaboration? And if a spirit doesn't want to connect with you, there's probably a fundamental mismatch there. As I mentioned, I have some spirits that I don't work with because there's a fundamental mismatch. And it's one of those cases where instead of trying to get them to work with me, I've accepted that there's a fundamental mismatch. I'm not going to try and force it. Instead, I respect the fact that they don't want to work with me, and and in that acceptance, I work with it. And this is a really important key to effective and powerful spiritual work. In our magical work, the way that we show up in the world around us, the way that we show up for other people, it matters. Spirit work is important too, the way we show up for those spirits. So, the next time that you're thinking like, oh, I want to work with a spirit, but it doesn't want to work with me, accept that and look toward another spirit. Finally, the final point I want to kind of make around, spirit communication and spirit connection is that spirits are going to communicate with you in many different ways. And one of the ways they communicate with you is through the lessons that they teach you. So sometimes there's something that we need to learn from the spirits. Open yourself up to that learning, because you will discover a very powerful wisdom when you're open to doing that. Okay, so I just want to share that with you, and I want to thank you for your question. I hope that my answer was helpful, and have a wonderful rest of your day.